On this edition of the program, live from Washington, D.C., the shutdown is never, ever, ever going to end. Andrew Heaton joins us to talk about a very sad day I spent on Capitol Hill. Nancy Pelosi's not running for her seat. Thomas Massie gets remarried, and one of the biggest cases in economic history happens at the Supreme Court later this week. Plus, a peek into the latest polls to see if I've changed my predictions. Spoiler alert, I haven't. It's all coming up.
The following is brought to you by Just Another Pilot.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Politics program for November 4th, 2025. Your old pal Justin Robert Young joining you on Capitol Hill. A lovely day at dusk here. I have spent my waking hours frittering around the belly of the beast, Capitol Hill, and I got a few news tidbits. And then I got some larger thoughts. We're going to talk to Andrew Heaton. We're also going to talk about some of the other news that has broken this week, today, including a preview of what is right behind me, the Supreme Court. A big case that'll be heard there, and Nancy Pelosi making a big decision. But let's start out with what there was to grab on Capitol Hill. The House remains out. The Senate will get back tonight. Speaker Johnson had his regular 10 a.m. press conference today, in which there were a few things that were kind of newsworthy. The biggest is that SNAP benefits, this came out a little bit later, but SNAP benefits will be paid out from a contingency fund that exists, that can be accessed by the federal government and the Department of Agriculture, which runs SNAP. That came after there was some legal stuff that happened at the end of last week. This will not get people fully funded and paid through the month, but there will be something that comes in. And then I noticed, my eagle ears, my eagle eyes, I noticed that there was a little bit of a change in some of the rhetoric during Johnson's presser. So I want to play you this clip. This is a defensive press conference. You can tell that the Republicans are frustrated, that the Democrats have been effective, at least with their base and some independence in terms of their narrative. So Johnson spent the vast majority of his press conference talking about false narratives that the Democrats have propagated and why they're wrong. And so I thought that was a little defensive. I don't know if I would do that if I were him, but still, it's his decision. This was where I thought he was pretty effective and was going on offense. I'm going to play you this clip.
Just days ago, the senator from Rhode Island said the opposite. It's the only lever we have, meaning the shutdown. What he means is that the pain of the American people is their political lever. I guess he's forgotten his cries of alarm over the extremist hostage taking. And how about the House? Infamously now, we all know the Democrat whip, Catherine Clark, the second highest ranking Democrat in the House, said, quote, just last year, she said, they are taking a non-issue, a false flag, and saying this is the reason we can't proceed. It is a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown. That's what she said in 2024. And what did she say about a week ago? The opposite, quote, of course, there will be families that are going to suffer here, but it's one of the few leverage times we have. Many House members have echoed the same hypocrisy, and I'm not going to waste our time with it this morning, but I do want to leave you with this quote from Chuck Schumer, because he is the actual architect of the shutdown. He is the one that is preventing the Senate Democrats from doing the right thing. In March of this year, as you know, he voted on the same CR to avert a shutdown. And he said then, quote, in his speech on the Senate floor and in a bunch of interviews, this is what he said on the Senate floor, quote, the CR was certainly bad, but a shutdown would be 15 or 20 times worse. It was a vote of principle. And today, Chuck Schumer, entirely void of principle by his own estimation, said, quote, every day gets better for his party. Tell that to the millions of American families facing a hunger crisis now as a direct result of his failed leadership and shenanigans. Those Democrats have all collectively voted 14 times over the last several weeks to reject the clean continuing resolution to fund the government, and they've made it abundantly clear they're going to continue to do that, to hold the American people hostage, so long as it serves their political interest to look tough to the leftist radicals in their base. Republicans have done our part to end the government, the Democrat shutdown, and now it's time for Democrats to do theirs. The path forward is simple. Please, every American who is concerned about this, every American that is feeling the harm, you should call the Senate Democrats and tell them to stop the nonsense. Echo the voices of the unions, of the airlines, of hardworking people everywhere, and tell them to stop doing this and open the government.
So now the reason why I think that is pretty interesting is because the way that Republicans have talked about this shutdown in the past is that Chuck Schumer didn't want to lose two of the most precious things in his entire life: his leadership role in the Senate and his role as a senator writ large. One of them was being pressured by other very ambitious members of the Senate, Chris Murphy among them. The other was AOC, who has threatened to primary Chuck Schumer in the past. So he has to change his mind from what happened in March, where he did pass a clean CR and got yelled at for it, to where he is now, doing something. But it was always about AOC. AOC is forcing this shutdown. AOC is the leader of the Democratic Party. But that's not what you just heard. No. The new Democratic boogeyman, and congratulations, you're going to hear a lot of it from now until next fall, a year from today, is that the leader of the Democratic Party, if not functionally, but directionally, is Kami Zohran Mamdani. You are going to hear a lot about him by Republicans from now until, again, the midterms. This is what they are afraid of. They are afraid of Zohran Mamdani. I think it's an interesting, we were always going to get here. It's interesting that it began today. As for the rest of my day, I spent it talking off the record to a lot of people in a lot of different offices. And we're going to talk more about it with Andrew Heaton after the update. But, boy. It's never going to end. Here's a little potpourri of some of the fun we had on the Capitol, and then we'll get into the update, and then Mr. Andrew Heaton. But, oh, boy, did I not come away optimized.
I made the Sora video yesterday of us on like a theme park ride covering the house. I didn't realize they actually had one.
No, this is the best roller coaster ride in the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah, exactly.
The second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And we wanted to just have a simple exercise with you this morning to go through just a couple of important facts. There is such a staggering amount of gaslighting and false information that Democrats are engaged in right now.
This is your update brought to you by TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you need to go if you want to support this show. Thank you to everybody who supports us here on the program, on the Substack. You get something for your money, 2 bonus episodes each and every week. Thank you guys for sending me here. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. All right. Nancy Pelosi not running for her seat again. This is something that was kind of presaged when one of the rising, up-and-coming, protected sons of Democratic progressive politics, Scott Wiener, announced that he was running for her seat. It seemed unlikely that this would be an out-and-out primary challenge. And now Pelosi saying that she will not run. End of an era. End of an era. Look, I am currently right now, like right down the road are all the office buildings for Congress. There are going to be a lot of them, if not a whole building, that will be named after Nancy Pelosi. First female Speaker of the House, revered as one of the great tacticians in the field. You have to first tip your hat to a legend having done her job, but it also means that there is a big void of leadership right now on the Democratic side. And I don't know how many people would say that Hakeem Jeffries is doing a bang-up job in her stead. Right behind me over here is the Supreme Court. And that is where one of the biggest cases in economic history is going to take place this Wednesday. You're going to want to mark your calendar to be on Twitter and be on the live blogs to see how the justices are questioning the various different petitioners in a case that will determine whether or not Donald Trump's tariffs are legal under IEEPA powers. It is a very controversial decision, but it is one that, on one hand, would validate Donald Trump's economic worldview, would validate the tariff revenue that is coming into the United States, or will create one of the biggest economic headaches that the United States has ever seen, because that means that the federal government has to refund tariffs to people, and Donald Trump's entire strategy will have had no teeth. Very, very, very crucial that everybody pays attention to that. Thomas Massie getting remarried. This comes less than a year after the death of his wife, Rhonda. A lot of dust up about this. His wife, Thomas Massie's new wife or now wife, was a former congressional staffer for Rand Paul. The ceremony was a quiet one on the Massie Ranch. Here's all I'll say to anybody who's gotten judgy about it. I don't know how many widows and widowers you've known in your life. They tend to get married pretty quick. It's hard to lose that kind of stability really fast. And we here at the PX3 show wish all the best to the Massies. And finally, one last look at the polls as we come here to Election Day. This is Election Day when you're listening to this, most likely. Spanberger, she's up on Winsome Sears. I've been mainlining Virginia ads over the last day because I watched a lot of football on Sunday, and Winsome Sears is running a terrible campaign. Abigail Spanberger is just painting her as an out-and-out loon, a MAGA loon, and there are some out there clips of Winsome Earl Sears that paint that picture. And Winsome Earl Sears does the one thing you can't do, which is she makes an ad complaining about the other ads. This is from the I Am Not a Witch playbook of bad campaign decisions. You don't run an ad complaining about the bad ads that everybody's seen. You try to change the conversation into one that's more favorable to you. Winsome Earl Sears did have a big event today with popular Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin. Right on time, guys. Right on time. That one's going to end anywhere between 8 and 10%. That's where the RCP average is right now. Let's go to that AG race, though, in Virginia. Because Jay Jones, who had a big scandal with these unhinged text messages and the fact that he had a reckless driving charge and then he did his time, for his own pack. He didn't lead a single poll in October until today. Last two polls that have come out have had Jay Jones up. Will he be able to survive that scandal and become the Attorney General of Virginia? Be a big victory for the Democrats for not caving, for not saying that he should not run. If Spamberger wins by like 10 to 12, I think so. I think it's in play. As for New Jersey, that does appear to continue to be tightening. A very tight poll that had it within 2 points today. I remain bullish that this is probably the only one that is going to be anywhere near close. And based on the early returns, it looks like the Democrats have a good handle on that race. I'm still going to put it at a Mikey Sherrill win. But I will again say that it's probably going to be under 3, at which point the Republicans will consider it a outside of the realm battleground state like Virginia or New Mexico, something like that. Which brings us to Kami Mamdani. Same person that Speaker Johnson couldn't stop talking about here today. A few closing polls that have strong Cuomo numbers, bringing them within 2-3 points, even with Sliwa in. I don't buy it. I just don't. I don't buy it. I believe that Mamdani is going to win. I believe that Mamdani is going to crack 50. Write it in stone. It's over for Cuomo. That is your update. TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you need to go if you want to support this show. Keep me on the road. And now, my conversation with Andrew Heaton, a depressed conversation we had right as we left the Capitol. All right. We're done with our day in Congress.
Yeah.
A shutdown Congress. We are now at Pete's Diner. Right outside.
Yes.
A Washington staple. You can see one of the office buildings or some kind of federal building there in the background. I'm sure that...
I think that's Cannon over there, I believe.
The geolocators can figure that one out.
Yeah.
Heaton, why is the government shut down and when will it open?
Let me start with when the government will open first, because I think that that's more clear. I would like to assure your listeners that, and I know this is going to sound a little long, it will definitely be wrapped up by Christmas of 2026. Mm-hmm. So don't worry, no more than 12 and a half months from now, it should be going. Why is it going on? I'm inclined to think mostly brinksmanship at this point.
Yep.
Our colleague Jen reports that the continuing resolution was more or less clean, that the Democrats will not jump on. That makes sense to me, that this is more to do with internal fighting of Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries wanting to stave off bids against their leadership. That makes the most sense to me. That being said, though, during the presser that we went to with Speaker Johnson, where he brought up, somebody asked him about snaps, the response was that the Republican understanding is that they can't tap the contingency fund in order to, they would love to, but they cannot tap the contingency fund because legally they cannot do so if the underlying funds are not authorized. And that doesn't sound like the Trump administration. So that threw some spanners in the works for me, going, well, I don't know. I'm still inclined to think that this is largely Democratic politicking rather than anything else. But I would like to say that there's a whole lot of shitheads involved in the process that deserve discredit on both sides of the aisle.
How would you describe the experience of the Johnson presser, the front line of the messaging war that we were there for?
Speaker Johnson is a combination of he looks like Steve Colbert and Ned Flanders combined.
Good shout.
Seems like a nice guy, very articulate, seemed very frustrated. Seemed very like there were clearly several hashtags the Republicans have tried to get going that have failed to launch. Yeah. That I didn't even know were a thing. They were like Schumer's Shutdown. I was like, oh, I didn't know we were supposed to be calling it that.
Yeah. Yeah, the presser seemed a little defensive. It was a little...
I think that makes sense, because I don't think that this has benefited the Republicans at all. I think when you look I'm looking at the polling regularly. If you're a Republican, you think it's the Democrats' fault. If you're a Democrat, you think it's the Republicans' fault. If you're an independent, and that's a crucial bit, you're more likely to think that it's the Republicans' fault, which means that overall, this has been more harmful to the Republicans than the Democrats in terms of national sentiment.
Yeah. I mean, I think that needle hasn't necessarily moved much. Like, there's enough there in the numbers that everybody can say, we're winning, let's continue fighting, right? Mm-hmm. What I found interesting about the Johnson messaging was that this was a fact sheet. Facts. This thing that's being said that we are mad that too many people are believing needs to be corrected by this, what in their minds is what's really going on. And I would by and large understand their frustration because as I understand the situation, their view of it is a little bit closer to how I understand it.
Yes.
But it is interesting that that's where they are right now. And two, we are out of the world where Chuck Schumer is doing this cowardly to stave off an AOC primary. And we are now moving into the new season of messaging, which will last from now until the midterms, especially when the results come in New York tomorrow. And that is that the Democratic Party is wholly owned and operated by the new commissar, Kami Zohran Mamdani. He is what the Democrats are. Everybody now agrees with it, and that's what it is. You know that we're in DC. This looks like some kind of detail.
So I'm here for the Chuck Schumer is doing this for his own lizard person political calculus. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Mamdani runs the Democratic Party, I think, is a stretch beyond credulity. That is, I think, something of a fluke based on historically bad candidates he was running against. My Bernie Sanders friends would disagree and say that this is the vanguard of the people rising up against the oligarchs, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Either way, I think it is aberrant within the Democratic Party. I do not think Mamdani's emblematic of it, and he's the fact that he's standing out so much is an indication that he's not common. And so them pivoting to that, we've moved from a reasonable explanation to just sheer politicking.
Yeah. I mean, their argument is this is the rising tide. The establishment is terrified. Fear was the operative word with Speaker Johnson this morning. And that the fear is that if you don't get in line with the communist wing of the party, then you will be punished. And that is what is driving this. Now,
was there a lot of communist stuff that they were trying to slip into into their version of the bill? I thought it was just Medicaid something or other.
Well, I mean, the problem is that, again, and I kind of agree with the Republican position on this, is that what the Democrats want isn't just right now there are two things. A clean CR. I would say that it is a pretty clean CR. And then there is the Democratic, their version of it. And their version of it is like, hey, strip out all the stuff that you just passed in the one big beautiful bill. So you're going to give money back to USAID and from the rescissions package. You're going to give money back to NPR. You are going to give money back to the rural hospitals and the Medicaid network, blah, 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 blah. That's never going to happen. Like, much in the same way that Ted Cruz could shut down the government to get rid of Obamacare. Obama's never going to get rid of the Obamacare that he just passed. So that is a non-starter. And the Democrats have largely gotten away with having to actually defend that. And it has just kind of been this amorphous, well, if Republicans control all of the houses of government, then this is their shutdown. Which is also odd for me because it's like, if you're going to shut down the government, why aren't you taking credit for it? Usually that's like a good thing that you want to do, is take credit for the thing that you're doing. But that kind of is like my takeaway, having been in there all day, is like, nobody knows. Nobody knows what the other side wants. Nobody knows what the other side is talking about. Nobody understands, from the Republican perspective, I know for a fact, they're just guessing on like, oh, well, maybe after the Virginia elections, there'll be wiggle room. Maybe after No King's Day, there'll be wiggle room. Maybe after. But these are guesses. Like, there's no active negotiation. There's no, like, usually this is one of those things where it's like, okay, well, we want $1 billion for this thing. The other side's like, okay, we'll give you $500 million for this thing. Let's meet at 700, and then that'll be it, depending on who's winning the messaging war. My thing now is like, nobody can really agree on what the messaging war is. Everybody can retreat to their own safe space and hear a bunch of people talk about how amazing they're doing. You can look at polls that are barely moved and say, well, like, squint and see exactly the story that you want to see, but we live in a very divided country. And I don't know. I'm leaving here today. I'm having this burger at Pete's Diner more, for the first time, more believing that this is going to go until Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's about my thought. I mean, again, I think it'll be done by Christmas 2026, but other than that, I'm not really sure when it's likely to wrap up at. Can I have one of your fries?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Yes. One of the interesting things for me, Justin, is I've not been following this as closely as you or our colleague Jen. I am, to a great extent, taking my cues from you in terms of the clean CR bill. I went on another show recently with a friend of mine who's an old Hill staffer, and his take was just the absolute diametric opposite. It was, this is clearly the Republicans. They're holding this up because they are wanting to cut medical stuff. He specifically talked about how, because I brought up, like, isn't this just a continuing resolution of effectively the Biden budget?
Yeah.
And he went, well, no, because there's rescissions in it. So it's a bad faith type thing. Although I believe the rescissions that we're talking about are USAID, public funding, and maybe the Department of Education, I think. I don't know that we're talking about rescissions.
USAID and NPR. Yeah. Those are the big ones. And they really, like, when they happened, people were making fun of them for how small they were, especially compared to what the Doge promises were of cutting $1 billion in government spending. This was, and there's only a few worlds in which you can call a few $1 billion tiny peanuts, but this was tiny peanuts when you look at the scope of the federal government.
Yeah.
But that is the article of faith on the Democratic side, is that any rescission is a welching on your deal when it came to a budget. We made our agreement on a budget, and you've now gone back on it. And I can understand that to a certain extent, but it's like, rescissions are a part of the government. Like, you have to pass them, but they do exist.
Yeah, for people that are unfamiliar, a legislative rescission is, okay, to pass spending in the Senate, you're going to need, what, 60 votes? In order to promulgate spending. But to cut spending, you just need a simple majority. So you can, and it's designed intentionally that way so that we err on the side of underspending. When there is a problem, we're more apt to cut than to spend. It's not working terribly well.
No.
But the underlying logic is reasonable to it. And
but the idea that it's like a forever trust shredding exercise stretches credulity for me.
You know what I think that they should do at the end of this is, I think that one, I don't know why the Trump administration hasn't had the Attorney General reverse Cincinnati's or whatever his name was.
Yeah, we did not see enough actual members to ask them that question. We largely spent our day talking off the record to a bunch of people.
This is new since 1980. I'm unaware of any government shutdown that's occurred since 1980, or before 1980, sorry.
Yeah.
The Trump team is not notorious for really liking precedent, so I'm not sure why they're not doing something, but what I think the Republicans would be smart to do in the wake of this is put into statutory effect that if there is a government, if there's a failure to create a budget, you just go with continuing resolution, but you don't increase it based on inflation or anything like that. And then the worst case scenario is we just fix the debt that way. That would be the card would be, look, we're going to spend the exact same amount of money.
Continuing resolutions forever, but the dollar amount doesn't change, and so therefore it does not go up with inflation.
The economy hopefully grows and inflation occurs, and then that would happen. And it still would not be my preferred way to deal with it, but at least it would be better than what we're currently doing.
Yeah, so I'm not being too doomer, right? Like when I'm like that was like a bleak.
Yes. I think that was,
nobody had a glimmer in their eye but what you don't know is there's like a thing, like everybody that we talked to.
The third guy didn't even introduce himself. It was Mike Johnson, Scalise, and Lurch. I don't know who Lurch was.
Tom Emmer.
Who is
Tom
it?
Emmer.
Okay.
Tom Emmer.
No one introduced him. He didn't bring up his name. He just dove in. No, I got the impression that they were. The beginning of it, I think they meant what they said. Then they slid into pretty clear messaging of, it's medicine. It's the Democrats who've made the medicine cost more. And I'm like, all right, well, now we're in the politicking mode.
Yeah.
No, the other bit, too, is like, I don't know what the stress points are here. I'm guessing snaps maybe, but they're not being reported a whole lot.
Yeah.
They're not, the outcry's not huge. Weirdly, the outcry on, Medicaid cuts seemed much bigger, even though they were less substantial and less immediate.
Yeah.
And I don't think even take effect for a while. Whereas the SNAP benefits are now. But I don't know. Both sides seem to think that it's benefiting them, and I'm not really sure who budges, other than maybe everybody just gets so pissed off by Thanksgiving when they can't fly home. Maybe the TSA saves America, where TSA just goes on strike and goes, you got to get your shit together, sign the CR.
If there was an organized, a wildcat air traffic controller, we're all just driving Uber today because Uber pays us. I think that especially at Reagan and Dulles, that could probably rack this thing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But other than that, I wish I had more to report for you guys, but this was sad. this was like, no, I was hoping that maybe if I was here, you pull up under the carpet, you see something going on. Nothing, my friends. Nothing. The Senate is just at loggerheads. They're not talking to each other. And maybe there's stuff that is way, way deep under there, but at least we mostly talk to House people. Nothing has gotten to them.
They're chilling.
Yeah.
It is beanbag and pajamas day in the House right now. That is the vibe. Having worked on the Hill, and everybody I worked on the Hill with is now dead.
Yeah.
But except for the members, they're all still there. They're all 100 and fuck all. And this felt very much like a Saturday during recess to me, and it is Monday during not recess. But it had that vibe. It was a Saturday during recess minus the frivolity or alcohol. It was just beanbag and pajamas.
Although, oh my God, we saw a few offices.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would be couth for us to tell you.
I don't want to get our friend in trouble, but there's
which office, but there is one representative
Yeah.
that has a fucking deluxe
They
bar cart.
They have quite the bar cart. No, I saw that. Then like you saw, but I wanted to make sure you saw it. No, when I was on the Hill, we just had Yingling with bits of light bulb in it, and then some kind of rot gut plastic jug bourbon.
Yeah.
But man, no, that office is kicking. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Heaton, it was a pleasure being on the Hill with you today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. This is fun.
And that'll wrap it up for us today. Politics, written and hosted by me, Justin Robert Young, for Dog and Pony Show Audio. Live from Washington, D.C. Our producer is Will Saddleberg. I want to thank everybody who took their time to talk to me today in the House. Very, very interesting. I don't think it's ever going to end. Nobody's talking to each other. Nobody knows what they want. This is just a really sad, depressing shutdown. A super, super depressing shutdown. Normally, there are stupid shutdowns. Stupid shutdowns are when you're making a decision, you're going with your heart over your head, but at least you can understand it. I can't understand this shutdown at all, whatsoever. I mean, the Democrats don't even want to own it. Anyway, thank you to everybody who supports the show. TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you get 2 bonus episodes each and every week. Thank you to everybody who sent us money with a one-time donation to all of our PayPals and Venmos. And thank you to everybody who came out to the meetup down at the Tune-In. Let's go ahead and read our list of the foundational tier. Go ahead, play the clip.
Sonny Black, L3PO, Peepaw, Scott, Middle-Aged Mike, Tom, Sarah Jeannie, Jeremy, Pro Idiot, Chiller Tomatoes. Oh yeah, it's Adam. Neil, AB Puppy, Dr. Whiskey, Michael, Fat Tony's PJs from New York, Will, The Borge B, Matthew, Matt, Andrew, Edwin, Sam, Andrew, Phil, Edison, Devon, Paul, a dog named Checkers, Gloria, my mom, Jerry, Trucker, John, Berkeley, Steven, and Zombie Doc.
The next time that we hit the free feed, couple moving pieces. We'll probably have an instant reaction to the election results tomorrow night. I hope that's the case. I'm going to record a few more interviews while I am here. Dave Leventhal, the Money Man, will be on the Friday show. And there we go. Until next time, this is your old pal Justin Robert Young saying, some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics, and still more discuss politics. But this, baby, this is the only show that dares discuss all three.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Dog and Pony Show audio.